morning, Dubai. Welcome back to the Love in Dubai show, where we go through all the trending stories that everyone in Dubai is talking about. Today, we'll continue your updates on the Abu Dhabi terror attack. We'll be talking about the UAE has now called the UN for a meeting after the Houthis' effort to spread terrorism and chaos.
And we'll also be talking about full-time employees working overtime in the UAE are entitled to extra pay.
On a happier note, we'll be talking about the happiness report, which are the official government service ratings they're in. So we're going to dive into them.
And Emirates has suspended passenger flights to 9 cities in the USA, so more on that later as well.
And do stay tuned because we have the one, the only, the absolutely stunning with the most amazing voice. We have Leila Kardan joining the show. We're going to learn all about her new interesting venue called Papillon, which I've definitely pronounced wrong. But stay tuned for that. But let's jump into our top stories. We're talking about the Abu Dhabi terror attack. The UAE has now called the UN for a meeting after the Houthis' effort to spread terrorism and chaos. So as you guys know, at 10 a.m. On January 17th, UAE time, the Houthi militias targeted the Musafa ICAD 3 area and also a new construction area of Abu Dhabi airport, both of which are civilian infrastructures. So the attacks, which led to the explosion of 3 petroleum tanks, killed 2 Indian civilians and 1 Pakistani civilian and injured 6 other civilians, and our thoughts and prayers are with their families. The Houthis confirmed responsibility for these attacks, and since then we've had many leading powers have raised public support to the UAE, and now the UAE is calling to the UN Security Council for a meeting. So they submitted a letter to Norway, which is the UN Security Council president for the month of January, requesting a meeting of the council to address the Houthi terrorist attack. The letter condemns the Houthis of targeting the civilians and civilian objects, which is in flagrant violation of international law, and it calls on the council to unequivocally condemn the Houthi attacks with one voice. It reads, the UAE strongly condemns the Houthis' targeting of civilians and civilian objects in flagrant violation of the law. That was said by Lana, who's the permanent representative of the UAE to the UN. And the UAE expresses its condolences, of course, to the families of the deceased and wishes those and all involved a speedy recovery.
It also goes on to say that illegal and alarming escalation is a further step in the Houthis' effort to spread terrorism and chaos in our region. It is another attempt by the Houthis using the capabilities they have unlawfully acquired in the defiance of the UN sanctions to threaten peace and security. Now, the United Arab Emirates calls on the Security Council to speak with one voice and join in firmly and unequivocally condemning those terrorist attacks, which were launched in complete disregard of international law. So a lot of just, it's really sad. Like, our thoughts and prayers, like you said, are going out to the families of the deceased. And I think as one just international body, we should raise our voice against terrorism in all.
100%. And I think what we're seeing is, and if you follow the government updates on Twitter, wam.ae, you'll get all of the updates of so much support flooding in from the US. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, he received a call from Imran Khan, Prime Minister of the Republic of Pakistan, who expressed his condemnation of the Houthi attacks. And we're getting that from everywhere: Jordan, France, Greece, the UK, the US, Israel, India. Everyone is expressing their support. I think the main thing is just that our thoughts are with the families, because there was attacks on civilian areas. And I think that's kind of the bit that can touch home to so many of us. Musafa is a place that my friends lived in Abu Dhabi when they were teaching there, so I know the area well. So it really is very close to home, and it's a very scary time. And we know that the UAE is reaching out to the UN to basically put a stop to the madness.
It's brilliant to see expats, especially in these testing times, sticking with the country, sticking with the leadership, just giving all its support and not taking the time to be like, we need your assurance. None of that. It's just them showing their full-on support to the government here, which is amazing.
100%.
As usual, the UAE's expats are just amazing. Now, moving on, full-time employees working overtime in the UAE are entitled to extra pay. Now, this is right? So it's a reminder to all of the regulations. It's not a new law that has been instated, but it's just like, we're just going to run by it and remind you guys of what exactly you're entitled to. And so you should know your rights as an employee here in the UAE. And according to the federal decree by law number 33 of 2021, article 19, as stated in the official UAE Gazette number 712, Full-time employees working overtime are entitled to additional pay, period. Now, employees can find out if they're eligible for overtime compensation if the employer requires you to work for additional working hours beyond your normal timings, provided that it does not exceed 2 hours per day. And in all cases, the total working hours shall not exceed 144 hours every 3 weeks. Now, if you are required to work for more than the normal working hours, the extra time shall be considered overtime, for which the worker shall receive a wage equal to that corresponding of his working hours.
So what you can also do is you can calculate the overtime that should be paid. So your overtime pay should be calculated according to your basic salary, which is very interesting, not your full one, plus an increase of at least 25% of the wage. So if you're required to work overtime between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., so a late night shift, you should also be entitled to an overtime wage calculated according to the basic wage plus a 50% increase on at least 50%, yeah.
And if you're required to work on your rest day, you shall be compensated with another rest day or with payment of the wage for that day, plus an increase not less than 50% of the basic wage for the day. Now, moreover, yesterday on the Love and Dubai show, UAE lawyer Omar Al-Halou reminded all that employees are entitled to 90 days of sick leaves during his elaboration of the UAE labor laws. And he spoke more on annual leaves, on maternity leaves, on sick leaves, on study leaves, sabbaticals. So all on yesterday's show.
And I think the main summary is that although these aren't brand new, it's that know your rights as an employee. And I think that the UAE is putting a spotlight on labour laws at the moment because we've had a lot of change recently. And there's also more regulation in terms of what the employee rights, and also a lot of the changes in the benefit of the employee.
Yes.
So take note of that. But the best thing you can do is know your rights as an employee. So if you're entitled to anything, then you can raise it with your employer. Speaking of like day changes and shifts, we saw that the UK will introduce a trial period for 30 companies to do a 4-day working week.
That's so interesting. I think as the economy gets more competitive, everyone wants to be on the same page. The UAE already set the bar by doing 4.5 work week. Now the UK, and I'm sure so many countries will follow. And I think before this it was Portugal.
Not Portugal. I think a Scandinavian country.
Right. But we put up the post on Facebook about full-time employees working overtime are deserving of extra pay. So a lot of comments, 92 comments. And one of them was just, I have a friend who's been compelled to work for more than 12 hours a day and on his day offs and public holidays without an extra penny and compensation leaves. Now, when I asked him to make a complaint, he's just like he was afraid of losing his job and complaining won't benefit him at all. So I think this is a fear that a lot of people have, like they know their rights, but they just don't know how to speak up for it because they're afraid of losing their jobs and they're afraid of just like how it's going to turn out and maybe not work out in their favor.
To be in that position when you're scared to speak up is it's horrifying, but it's these conversations that lead to change.
Exactly.
So it's you might be in a position that I can't speak to my employer. However, it's more conversations surrounding it in the media and in the public sphere that makes that eventually will make these conversations okay.
Yeah, so do send us your stories and we'll happily cover them if that helps bring about a change.
Moving on, we're talking about the happiness report. Now, this is an official government service. It happens every single year. They're annual reports that basically rate the government services. And what they look at is they look at who's performing, and the high performing guys, they get high praise, and they look at who's not performing. And usually for the ones that aren't performing, there's a little bit of a reshuffle at the bottom. I remember one year what was happening was the companies at the bottom versus the companies at the top. The managers at the top performing companies were shifted to the bottom performing companies and vice versa. So the ones at the bottom really got like a level up in terms of experience because what's being won really well.
That's interesting.
So really cool. Yesterday it was tweeted by Dubai's Crown Prince. He said, in line with the directives of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, we place great value in ensuring the happiness of Dubai government's customers and employees. So today we approved the results of the 2021 Index for Dubai Government Service Happiness.
Now, he said serving people and ensuring customer happiness are the very basis of government work. We aim to publish those results annually to encourage transparency and raise the quality of our services. Now, the Employee Happiness Index reached 88% and customer happiness reached 86%.
So I think this is super cool. So it's basically which employees are happy and then which customers are happy. So let's look at employees first and then we'll go on to customers because obviously we're customers of all of these services. So we could probably venture a guess. Okay, so the top 3 employee happiness. This is where if you're using a government service, they are at their happiest. Number 3 is the, oh, can't read it, it's too blurry.
Is that the
I think
ICA?
it's the ICA. Yeah. So which is interesting because they're obviously the visa people who've had a very, very busy year. And in second place is the what is that?
Public. What is that?
I have His Highness's tweet open, but when I'm zooming in, I can't read it.
Is it a public prosecution? Yeah, public prosecution.
Public prosecution.
And Dubai police.
Sorry about that, guys. I'll share the photos, see if you have better luck than I had.
It's quite blurry.
And in first place, employees' happiness. So the happiest employees of government services are Dubai Police with a 96.6% rating.
They have done some amazing stuff for the community as of late. Like just like the smallest things you would not expect them to help out with, like just changing tires and helping those stuck in the middle of the road. It's
so interesting because we share so many positive Dubai Police stories because we get so much shared with us. And there's always such a brilliant response. And, you know, we love a happy Instagram feed. We love a happy Facebook feed. We love, like, you know, sharing the good deeds, sharing the good gestures and getting that positive response. And I never thought about this before, but when Dubai Police see that, it must bring some pride to see, like, you know, if imagine if people shared what we did and were like, that's really nice. Or whatever industry you work in. Let's say, for example, you work in a retail store. Imagine if there was some entity constantly sharing all the great stuff that you do. It brings about great morale. And obviously not just Love in Dubai, a lot of people share. So, but that must bring about great morale. So maybe that contributes to their happiness.
So true, so true.
And the cool cars they get to drive.
Of course. I think it's that.
That could be that. Okay, so now the customer's happiness. So this is how happy you are based on customer services. So achieving more than 90%, we have the RTA, we have the Land Department, Dubai Municipality and Dubai Tourism. And then the top 3, customer happiness, you guys are very happy with Dubai Police, 91.3% rating. You are very, very happy with
one of the government
entities.
Yeah, then Dubai Chamber is the top one.
Is the top one with 91.9%. So sorry, I can't read that blur.
What is that? No. It's a bird.
But you guys love it. You love it. So 91.9% is the top customer happy index. And the great thing about UAE government services, particularly in Dubai, is they are constantly developing. And they are always looking for your feedback. They are attempting to go digital across the board. So I just think it's great when governments actually look at their services and are actually trying to improve. You don't see that in every country.
Point, girl, that's such a point. And then so many of the services that we use and like cannot live without. Like for me, personally, RTA, like I just can't. I call them up every 2 days regarding my public commute timings, and they just help me out. They're like, okay, this.
They have apps for that.
Yeah, I know they have apps, but it's just nice to talk to someone.
Must be a change,
right? What does that mean?
I don't know, and lots of things as well.
But we're quite happy with Emirates as well. And moving on to an Emirates story. So Emirates has suspended passenger flights to 9 cities in the USA now as a result of operational concerns associated with the planned deployment of 5G mobile network services at certain airports in the US. Dubai's flagship carrier, Emirates Airline, has suspended flights to 9 US destinations that will be coming into effect as of today. Now, the 9 US cities include Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Miami, Newark, Orlando, San Francisco, and Seattle until further notice.
In a statement on its website, Emirates added that customers holding tickets with the final destination to any of the above will not be accepted at the point of origin. However, affected customers do not need to call us immediately for rebooking. Customers can simply hold on to their Emirates tickets. When flights resume, get in touch with their travel agent or booking office to make new travel plans. They added that we are working closely with airport manufacturers and the relevant authorities to alleviate operational concerns, and we hope to resume our US services as soon as possible, the statement concluded.
Now, passenger flights to New York, JFK, and Los Angeles, LAX, and Washington, D.C., IAD, will continue to operate as planned. So those flights are open, but the 9 other destinations, as mentioned before, are currently suspended until further notice.
But how crazy! It's confusing to me. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and it's very, I feel like it's very last minute. This information was released last night, and now it's like it's coming into effect as of today. So it really, I hate it when travel plans are so like dodgy, up in the air, and like just
good phrase.
Up in the air.
As a result of 5G mobile network services, so they're introducing 5G mobile network services, which could potentially affect the airline's readings as they fly in.
Yeah. Interesting, but I think, of course, like I think they're giving themselves that buffer period to kind of check their system and see how much it can affect, how much can be changed and adapted. But of course, with technology, we adapt.
We learn, we grow.
Exactly. Speaking
of learning and growing, we're going to be joined by the incredible Leila Kardan, who has just opened her first business venture. She's an incredibly talented artist, and we're so excited to have her on the show for the second time. She'll be with us right after this. Welcome back to the Love in Dubai show. We are now joined by singer and songwriter Leila Kardan, who is with us today to tell us about her latest endeavour, Papillon, a passion project taking the dining experiences in Dubai to a whole other level. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Not at all, because we actually caught up over COVID, but we had to do one of those Zoom interviews, which really just are not the same. And especially for an artist during COVID, like that must have been tricky, but you've come out like a butterfly.
Hence Papillon.
Hence Papillon.
I mean, I guess like that period really gave me some time to, revisit my strategy on what I was going to do creatively, because obviously the performance space was very different for artists, and I was so stifled, and I wanted to create something beautiful, and that would diversify what I was doing in terms of my artistic expression, and hence Papillon was born.
So that was really born out of COVID and born out of you looking to just totally reshape what you do creatively?
I mean, I still write music and I still produce, but this is just to be able to expand, what I'm doing as an artist. And it's really bringing together all of the talents that I've acquired over the years. I grew up on the stage as a ballerina and did a lot of theater, and I'm in love with theater. And I had this opportunity to partner with the Wasl Hospitality Group, which is, as you know, a very strong, organization in Dubai. And I had this opportunity to take over the space and create something beautiful. And I really felt that there was a gap in the market for something that was theater, a dinner and show experience that was really a theater. So that's where Papillon came from, my brainchild. Yeah. So
to give you guys a bit of an insight, I actually got to experience it, and it's a night on a whole other level. Unlike anything I've experienced in Dubai, it's a dinner dining experience, but the entertainment and the dancing is something that we haven't seen before in Dubai. Tell me about finding the talents that could bring your vision to life.
Oh my God, that was the hardest thing, because obviously with Expo happening, a lot of the amazing local talent had already been snapped up. We opened November 23rd. So, in the lead up, I had to do a lot of auditions, and I did like so many across the globe. So I did one in Paris, we did one in LA, we did a couple here. And like I would do the auditions, and out of 50 people, I'd choose one. So I spent my days just going through different accounts and finding dancers. And so eventually we got the best talent. We have 2 dancers from Milano in Italy. They're amazing. Our lead choreographer came from Paris, very experienced and a beautiful dancer. We have another dancer from Paris, 2 from Argentina, who are incredible tango dancers. And we have a little up-and-coming Broadway star from New York who's unbelievable. She sings, she's a triple threat. So
this is amazing, but this is your passion project. And imagine all of these auditions. Would you call yourself a perfectionist in trying to find the right people?
I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I really wanted to make sure that, the talent is everything. And I can say that being on stage, that you can put together the greatest creative project, but if you don't have the right talent, it doesn't get executed properly. So for me, it was really important that we bring the right talent, and they're just also incredible people. So it makes the experience of working together, the level of professionalism much higher. And obviously, when you see the show, they are all so incredible. So yeah.
And they've all flown in from all over the world, which is incredible. And they must be adjusting to a new city. And I love that, because Dubai, we are such a melting pot. One thing that is for sure about the show, led by you, it's definitely got a strong feminine focus. Even as you walk off the show, you have this incredible mic drop moment. You're like, the future is female, and you walk off. It's amazing. Why is that important to you?
I think it's important, especially in that space, for the expression of women. And then living in the Middle East, or specifically in Dubai or the UAE, there's a lot of progress and change, and I'm always happy to see that. But, this show is very much about sensual liberation. And it's not about any kind of vulgarity, but it's about expression. And so the show takes you on a journey of a feminine journey. I'm not saying that it's, something that everybody could relate to, but it's a journey of a female where she starts off in a place of like elation and exploration and love, and then she goes to a place of, hurt and shame, and then she comes out strong with her sisters. So when I say the future is female, is because they're coming back strong and they're rising. But the show isn't like, only about that. There's also a celebration of the extremely talented men that we have in the show, and I think there's the right balance. But yeah, I mean, I'm Leila, so I'm always pushing that agenda. But it's really important to note that our creative director of the show is Denise Faye, who was actually the choreographer of movies like Chicago, Burlesque, 9. She was Cher's tour director for 5 years. So we have a very strong feminine push, and she's she's a vet. I mean, she's a Hollywood vet. So to have someone of her caliber, of her experience, work on bringing this show together as well, my vision together, was like really a huge blessing. We're really grateful to have had her, and we're all strong women, so it was just kind of a natural thing.
A natural progression. You mentioned progression and you mentioned change, and we're in the Middle East. The show, it's a little bit racy, of course. It's a cabaret or burlesque, and is that difficult to get past any line here to put on a show like that here in Dubai?
Well, I'm very obviously, I've been in this country for many years, and because of my heritage, my Middle Eastern heritage, I understand there are certain traditions and cultural bounds that we don't cross. Everything that I've done it is racy, I'm not going to lie, but it is also very artistic. So there's no vulgarity. It's not like you're watching something and you think, no, that's, it's an artistic expression. It's very artistic. I'm doing everything within the laws. I am pushing boundaries, but I think it's beautiful.
Who is Papillon for?
I don't like to say that it's for any one particular person. I think, what I really wanted to do is offer Dubai an opportunity to have like a dinner and show theater experience that they may not have had before. So I would love everybody to come and experience if they're over 21. But typically it's for, the explorative types, the artistic types, and people who want to actually come and have, look, it's a serious dinner and show experience. It is fun. We have a great, disco DJ in between who plays like a variety of amazing, music that you might not hear in other places. It's not, I would say it's not for like the typical masses. It's not, we're against the grain. So we're doing stuff that is different to everyone else. But we would love everybody to experience that, because we're trying to change that, face is like adding something to the cultural scene here that they may not have experienced before.
For you, obviously an incredible creative, what is it like the business side? So many of us, we want to do something that is kind of off the wall, but we may what is it like running the business along with the creative?
Well,
it's challenging.
Yeah, it's so challenging because, like a creative mind always wants to stay on the right side, but then obviously there's all of the business elements that come into play. And that's where the restrictions come, because you want to be free creatively, but then you got to rein yourself in sometimes because of, whatever restrictions you may have or limitations you may have. The thing is, I have an incredible team. First and foremost, I have my fiance and my business partner, Hamdan, who is a restaurateur. He also owns La Carnita and Cartel, and is very experienced from a restaurant aspect, and has worked really hard on developing an incredible menu and making sure that the operations are like very tight. And then, of course, the Westin. They're unbelievable. Working with Wasl Hospitality Group has been great. They're super supportive. And most importantly, we have the support of the publications who have been like really great in getting the word out. So it's not easy. Like, I'd like to just focus on the creative part, but I also come from a business background, so it's not very new to me. I understand all of the elements and things that you have to consider when you are running a show, but like also considering the business aspects as well.
Interesting. So there is a power couple behind this as well.
Like to think that.
Tell us about the feeling, I guess, on opening night when you actually, this is your show. You've obviously sung many, many nights before, but this is actually bringing your show to the audience. What was that like
Oh
for
my
you?
God, it was a disaster.
What?
Because the curtains open, I'm like, do those people have their food? Is everything okay over there? I can't just focus on, I mean, I am very dedicated to my performance, and I always give 100% of myself, like regardless of what the show is or where it is. But even more so, this is like my baby. So I'm like so invested in every part of it. Every night I sit and I watch every single part with so much love. And yeah, it is a different feeling. But I am very much like, you know, watching everything, making sure everything's okay, everybody's looked after. But generally, everyone is always having a good time. And we have such a gracious, amazing audience. I've never seen that. I've performed almost everywhere in Dubai, and I've never seen such a gracious audience. People are always clapping, so attentive, so, you know, grateful. And we love having an audience there.
It's so interesting that you're saying you're watching everything, because the beauty of it, I think, is that it's a very small, intimate venue, and it feels very special because it's not a very big crowd. And what I would agree with you on is that you don't always have a crowd in Dubai that's like up and dancing and clapping, but like, and I'm not an upper dancer clapper, but I was.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw you.
And I was like, and even earlier on in the night, I was like, there's such a good atmosphere here, and I loved it. Like, it's a night out like no other. I'd really recommend you go check it out. It's Papillon by the incredible, fabulous Leila Kardan.
Thank you. You're so kind. Thank you so much for coming, and you're always welcome.
Thank you so much. Guys, that's all we have time for today on the Love in Dubai show. We're back with you every single weekday morning, same time, same place. Stay safe and wash your hands. Bye-bye.